You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
This is Hardware is Forever. I'm Chris Bentliff. Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. And Jay, we've had the last couple episodes have been really interesting. We've talked to some experts. We had a really interesting discussion about what's going on with you and Apple, where we are returning to game theory, which is, as you know, fascinating to me. And today we're talking about commitment devices. And I guess let's start with, help us understand, teach us, what is a commitment device, and I guess put it in context for our conversation. How does it resonate with you? What's important about it?
So I think, in any game, it only works. The game only works if you're committed to playing it. If you don't commit to play it, if you say, hey, if you go with your buddies to play basketball and you get to the court and you guys say, hey, I'm out. And if it's a one-on-one game, there's no game. So for the game to work, there needs to be a sense of commitment device. You have to have a commitment device. You have to have a commitment in there. And now when it comes to, in business or in life, it's just not a one-on-one game. It's a multi-relationship. I don't even know how to talk. It's a very complex, connected type of game. And I think, for you to play your game, people need to know who you are, what your role is going to be in the game. And, if you play basketball or play football, there's specific roles that everybody plays in the game to make it work. And you have to commit to it. A quarterback can't be a linebacker who can't be an offensive lineman. They can't switch in between the games unless you're unique, one of one humanity has ever seen before. It's not easy for you to do that. So you have to commit to that thing and say, okay, I'm going to be playing center under football, and that's going to be my role. And I commit myself to doing that role and protecting the quarterback the best I can. And unless that commitment is there, can we play the game? Can we win the game? And I think a larger portion of that is, we're all playing the game. We have at Amtech and every businesses, there's an offense and a defense, and there's a team that you're trying to build of teams that you have employed at your business. You have a team of customers, and you have a team of suppliers and a team of investors. And everybody needs to know what you stand for and what your commitment is and what you're going to be doing it. And at a basic services level, on-time delivery, quality, and price. They need to know what that commitment is. But when you go larger, you're talking about, okay, what's the industry niche? And then when you talk about larger than that, what is your core values and vision of the company to attract other facets of people to play the game? So unless you commit to it, and unless people know who you are, they don't know how to involve you in the game. And if they don't know who you are and how to involve you in the game, they're not going to engage with you. And then in this game of business and game of life, if they don't know how to engage with you, like, you're not even playing the game anymore. You're going to be isolated.
There's a lot that resonates with me on this. I feel like commitment can be such a buzzword or such a marketing phrase or such a ultimately empty vessel for all kinds of things. And it's really easy to say, in business especially, we're committed to whatever. We're committed to quality, except for when we're not, because it's a little bit too expensive. Or we're committed to customer satisfaction, except for when we're not, because we didn't manage our supply chain so that we can't fulfill the orders. Like, I don't know, how do you take it past an idea and make it like part of the operating system, part of the fabric of the business? Commitment. In this way, we mean commitment, and it means that it's non-negotiable, Yeah,
I think, there's a famous saying that words are dead, and ultimately actions speak louder than words. And I think what you have to do, and when we find success, is when we can take our natural abilities, we can vocalize them, and we can say them, and we can live by them. Now, there are things that are reality that, am I Michael Phelps and the fastest swimmer in the world? No. But if Michael Phelps said that, I don't know what else, he's the best engineer in the world or nuclear scientist in the world, could he have done that? No. So Michael Phelps, and everybody needs to know what their innate abilities are and say that. And then there's another thing that's aspirational. I think Michael Phelps is a good example. Like, he's a swimmer, but his also aspiration and commitment was he's going to be the best swimmer in the world ever. And so I could be good at swimming, But Michael Phelps also said that I'm going to commit to being the best swimmer in the world, and he achieved things that nobody else has achieved and may never achieve. Well, I hope humanity, somebody comes out with that spirit and does it and does achieve it. But um, but I think he is to date, the highest gold medal Olympian ever. So I think like there's two things. There's a commitment of understanding who you are and saying, hey, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And there's another side of it that says, okay, now I'm a commitment to be aspirational. So there's two different things I think we can areas or stratas that you can do is one, be realistic about who you are and what you want to do. And then number two is be what you wanted, have something that's aspirational that drives you. And I think that's where, when we talk about implementing EOS, we have our core values and our vision or our core focus. And then we have our 3 to 10 year plan of what we want to be. Core values and core focus is today, and our aspirational vision or commitment is our 3-year and 10-year goals.
And we have these factors, commitment devices, and I'm thinking of Cortez, who burned his ships so that retreat wasn't possible. And I'm thinking about the prisoner's dilemma, like episode whatever it was here of this series, 1 or 2. And for me, what always comes to mind when we talk about that is like the Shawshank Redemption. And there would have been a point where there's no point of no return. You create some environment or some element where this is now what we're doing. I'm thinking of like when somebody is, I think I want to start my own job, and they either have to quit their very safe, comfortable job to do it and succeed, or they'll never actually do it because they'll be too afraid to leave their comfortable job. How does that factor in? How do things like that, how do you reach a point where you take your aspirations and you take that commitment, but you also overlay this sense of, and these are the things we're going to do so that we mean it. Like we can't go back to a different way, or we can't do an alternative way. In business, what are ways we can do that?
Yeah. So I think, going back to this is you need to know who you really are and what you're capable of. In the Middle Ages, there are people who strapped cloths to their arms and jumped off the tall buildings thinking that they could fly. Like it's quite aspirational.
And that's it. That's all it is. Aspirational.
But it's catastrophic at the same time. So I think we all need to know who we are and what we're capable of, and then build aspiration on top of that. Now, if I say I'm going to quit my business so then I can be, build, and this is what's happening right now, build rockets to go to the moon. Like, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't have the financial wherewithal. I don't have the technical wherewithal, and I don't even know if I have the will or not. So I'm just not going to do that because I will fail successfully. Like, not successfully, but I will fail catastrophically. So I think knowing who you are and committing yourself to that right now, and then building aspiration on top of that is fine. And at the end of the day, you don't need to be aspirational if you are fine with the job and pays the bills, and you can go on vacation once in a while, you spend time with your family, like it's fine. But the thing is, like, you need to commit to who you are so then you can play the game.
From a marketing point of view, for me, it very much becomes an analog to branding. Like who do you say you are, and who do others believe you are because you prove it, right? Like the commitment thing isn't, we're committed to quality is a phrase, and these are the 5 ways we do it or whatever. Do you agree? Is it synonymous with brand so that the customer experience is reflected in that? Is it an internal thing or an external thing?
I think it's both. You need to know who you are, and then you need to know what's important to you and what you're committed to, and then communicate that. And then those who need that and see value in that will select you to be a part of their game of business or of life or a family or whatever it may be. So like both things need to be there. Like, and that is the thing. Like you and I have committed to say, when somebody calls you Chris, you respond. And when somebody calls me Jay, I respond. And we've made that commitment. And that's why it functions. Because when I say, hey, Chris, what's going on? You say, hey, nothing much, Jay. It was great meeting you. It was great talking to you. We should do this more often. Like we've committed to that. If we change our name every day, like what's going to happen? Like, how can we even interact with each other? So I think knowing who you are, communicating that, and so then people know what their roles are in this game is is paramount. Otherwise, it's all chaos.
And, I'm thinking about when we talked about Deming, and we could constantly like say, look how this one weaves into that one, and look how this one reflects on that one. And we talked about iterated games earlier in another episode where we were talking about how reputation is built over time, and it's built because you continually prove yourself, committed. You consistently prove that you are the resource for that. I think that there's an interesting through point with game theory that has to do with commitment. Like you said at the very top, if you're not committed to playing the game, then you won't play the game. Well, like that can become really conceptual, but literally, if you are going to involve yourself in sort of rethinking how you do things with game theory informing that, I don't know, would you say step one is commitment? Like you have to, this is the first thing you got to do is decide this is what you're going to do and then follow through on that.
Game theory is the science of interaction, like games, right? So if you want to play the game, these are the rules. And I think I don't think there's a prerequisite, but like, don't say that you want to play a game and not play the game. It's like even in life, like you have to play the game. Otherwise, you're not going to reap the joys that life has for you. You just can't I can't sit in my parents' basement and enjoy the wonders of the world. I have to engage with that, and I have to commit to engaging with that. So, I think without commitment, there's nothing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's there. It is a requisite, but it goes along. It's just another facet of that game theory.
Has this reshaped some version of how you think about commitment, or how you are sort of, so often you're learning something and then you kind of start to apply it in some way or another at Amtech. Is there a point of view with commitment that is, I don't know, in some way new to you in this or refined so that you're taking it? Especially after the Apple stuff, like whatever you're learning there, does it re-energize some level of commitment for you?
So I think, there's always things that we learn. Like everybody tells us you have to be committed. You have to do what you say, but nobody goes down to a systemic level. And I don't want to say a scientific level, but like, this type of level and saying, okay, let's break it down and say why. Why is that? So I think when we talk about game theory, I think all of us do a lot of these things, but we don't know why it's significance. We don't have the understanding behind it. Like habitually we do it because we know that like that's there. Like same thing with the way that we learn language. Nobody taught us that, the words, what does the mean, or mom or dad, but we just kind of picked up on it and we just went from there. Now, do we know the etymology of where mom came from or dad came from? No, we don't, but we use the words. And I think that's where, when you go back and look at it twice and reanalyze it and look at it in this context, everything that we do kind of makes more sense. And now that you know that what the rule of the game is, you know how to extract more value out of it and why it's more important, why having a commitment is that much more important than not having a commitment, and why vocalizing it and living by it is that much more important than not. So I think it just comes together and gives you that clarity and conviction of, okay, yeah, I need a commitment, because if I don't, then people don't know how to work with me. I don't know how to work with people. I don't know who I am. I don't know about playing the game. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to get out of it? So I think it all is intertwined. But by going through this and studying game theory, I think there's a higher level of conviction, and you can get more out of the game because you know how to play it. You know the rules.
You make an important point about sort of vocalizing your commitment. How important is it to make your commitment visible? Like, how important is it that your employees or that your team or that your customers, they're not just like experiencing your commitment, you're telling them, or it's front and center. We're going to show you, it's on the pizza box. It says 30 minutes or less, or it's free. Like, how important is visibility of this?
So I think, it starts out with, one is you need to know who you are. And you know how identity, like we all talk about, everybody has an identity crisis. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows what they want to do with life, But I think the first thing is like, you need to know who you are, and you need to say that to yourself, because ultimately life is a story you tell yourself. It's not about circumstances are part of that story, but then you can either say you're a victim or have a victim mindset or have a heroic mindset. And I think that's the first thing, is the story that you tell yourself. So you need to commit to that and who you are, and tell that story of who you are. And then you have to tell the story of the aspirational self, aspiration, who you are today, and be aspirational, so you can find allies, guides, helpers in that game of life, so you can progress significantly faster. Because, if I'm at the gym every day and working out, and the guy knows I'm committed and I'm trying, the guy who's been there for 20 years, or professional bodybuilder, or, professional trainer, will say, hey, I see you coming in every day. You should think about doing like this or this or this, or, what's going on. And then once that happens, you start attracting those people that are going to help you in that game of life. So saying that, vocalizing it, and understanding it for yourself, and vocalizing it in your words and in your actions, will attract those other type of people. And in business, going back to it, if we specifically say in business, you get your investors, you get your employees, the team that you work with on every day, you get your vendors and suppliers, and you get your customers. And that's when they know how to engage with you.
It's a really good illustration, the going to the gym. We've all had some circumstance where either you're in an environment or you become the person in the environment where, if you're there over time, you start to get known, you start to get recognized. And then, like you said, people start to associate with you or ask about you or are more curious about you, versus the person who's there like once and doesn't even cross anybody's mind, or who was there once and then was there 4 months ago and begins to have a reputation for, well, you don't take this very seriously. That's a really interesting illustration of things that I think we do in life without knowing. Those are commitments.
So piggyback on this, me and my buddy were talking about, like, at our age, how do we make friends? Like, there's a whole huge friendship crisis in America right now. I think we are the loneliest we've ever been in the world. And what is the trick? What is, because we're not going to elementary school anymore. We're not going to middle school, high school, college, nothing. There's no place we go to. Work is there, but work is also limited. And it just comes down to showing up and spending time with each other. And I think that's where the commitment is if we just commit to just showing up and being in the presence of another person, we'll automatically become friends. There's always things that we can connect on. And I think that's where commitment is there. Is like, you just got to be something. And if you're committed to being something, you can play the game, and play the game with joy and with accomplishment, and with, maybe I don't know the words right now, it'll come to me, but it'll just be an amazing experience. So just committing and showing up who you are is the trick to everything.
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. Enjoying these conversations, and I'm looking forward to the next one, Jay. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.